Okay, so my name is Joel Hansen, as Rich mentioned. I'm from Vancouver. How many people have been to Vancouver? Awesome, okay. So yeah, I'm gonna be speaking about LinkedIn today and essentially the tool that it's been for my career, as well as how brands and people like yourself can leverage it. And so let's get started. So I believe that today is all about having the best experience. Our best travel experience, shopping, driving, drinking, texting, clothing. And if it's not the best experience, we change our experience in an instant. And I think that it's as quick as a text, it's as quick as a Google review, a bad social media post, and I think that Generation Z is the most experience-driven generation yet. If you look at the news, if you talk to other people around you, executives at large media firms, they are all saying the same thing. The experience economy is on the rise, and our generation is the next one up. And so I'm going to be talking about 3 tips and 3 keys that I've learned directing conferences and working with companies to create experiences for either yourself, for your personal brand, or as a company. So number 1, tell a compelling story. Number 2, be genuine. And then lastly, embrace digital. So point number 1, tell a compelling story. We all know the power of data, but we also know the depth, diversity, and color that a story can provide when data is brought within it. And so I'm going to tell a story of my own. So when I was in Ottawa interning on Parliament Hill, which is the equivalent to the White House for the States, if you don't know, I noticed a business leader that I looked up to, Ryan Holmes, shot an Instagram story of the Cenotaph, which was a minute walk from my workplace. So I shot Ryan an Instagram DM and I said, hey Ryan, would you ever have time for a coffee for a business student that would love to chat? And of course, crickets. I heard nothing. And so what did I do? I went to the next social media platform. I went to Facebook and I tried him on Messenger and I said, hey Ryan, not sure if you have time for coffee, but would love to chat about more of your story if you have time. And he said, you know what, Joel, I don't have time for coffee, but if you want to join me on a walk, I'm going from this street to that street. And these people are busy. And so, of course, I said, I would love to, but I'm in the middle of a meeting and I don't want to get fired from my second week on the internship. And so I thought maybe I could loop up later in the day. And I tried to message him, nothing came back, crickets again. And so the next thing I did is I actually went back into that message, looking back at the data, and I realized that one of the streets that he had mentioned was actually a hotel in Ottawa. I won't mention the hotel for future's sake. But, and Ryan gave me permission to share this story, so it is okay. And I called up the hotel and I said, my Uncle Holmes is staying with you guys and his birthday is tomorrow. Is there any chance I could drop off a birthday gift at his door? And they said, of course. All we need to know is his first name. And without a minute's hesitation, I said, his first name's Ryan. And they said, it's 1982. And I said, thank you so much, have a wonderful day. And so I then finished my day at the internship, walked back to my house, grabbed a couple things, went to Whole Foods, got some drinks, some snacks, some cards, some donuts, some breakfast stuff, packed it all together with an invitation on the top that said, let me know if you have time for breakfast tomorrow with my number. And so I go to the hotel, I go up the elevator, and I drop off the gift. I go back down, I go to the clerk and I say, just dropped off a gift for my uncle, want to surprise him, can you give him a call, let him know I'm here. And they said, you know what, actually, legally we can't because it's past 9 p.m., but you can. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. And so I took the phone, I said, hey Uncle Holmes, this is just Joel checking in. And I just wanted to leave you a gift to say, you know, it's nice to see you in Ottawa. And he starts to stutter and I just hung up. And so I walk out of the hotel, and within a couple minutes, he gets back to my Facebook Messenger and says, let me know if you have time for a jog tomorrow, would love to chat. And so that was kind of just a fun story that then I took to LinkedIn to essentially inspire some other students and some friends of mine to say, what can happen when you use social media, not maybe necessarily as an influencer, but just to share an experience and an invitation. And that had just over 350,000 views and just over 1,600 likes, just by sharing an authentic story of a student that likely doesn't deserve Ryan's time at all, but of someone that was willing to give time because of a story worth telling. Oh. So my second point, be genuine. A compelling story is only as good as its genuineness. And we in our generation can sniff out fakeness, fake news, and poorly created stories when we see them. And so in that same way, I wanted to encourage you guys to always be thinking the long term. For you, those of you that are just getting involved in your workplace, know that you have a 50-year, less or more career ahead of you, and that you don't have to accomplish everything this weekend, that night at 5 a.m., or the weeks ahead. Know that you can develop relationships and not see dividends come out, maybe with 5, 10, 15 years. And I think that is at the root genuineness. So my second point, another Vancouver founder that I liked, Chip Wilson. Who's worn Lululemon stuff? Quick show of hands, no one? Oh, okay, awesome. So Chip was someone that developed thought leadership and wrote articles, and someone that I was inspired by. And so I took to LinkedIn again, and I said, hey Chip, thanks for posting that last picture. Definitely something I needed. P.S. Incredibly inspired by what you do as a business student here in Vancouver. I didn't really ask him for anything. I just wanted to encourage him to say, you're doing amazing work, and just know that from being a student. And so all I got was that little thumbs up. And it didn't mean too much at all, but what it did mean was that, hey, someone's listening, and it changed the whole way that I looked at the brand because of his genuineness just to say, I'm here and thanks for the message. But as that continued, I looked more into his work, and I looked more into his brand, and I had heard that Chip takes other young entrepreneurs and investors on hikes. He's not a coffee guy. As you can see, he's a big guy, and he's an outdoor enthusiast. And so I was heading downtown Vancouver one day, and I said, the hike was the next week, and I asked him, any chance I could tag along for a hike next week? Would love to hear a bit more of your story. And so with that, Chip said, sure, send me an email, we'll get you on the list. And I had the chance to join him on a hike, ask him a couple questions just because of the act of following up, being genuine, and being open to hearing the no or the yes. So the third point, if you're taking notes in your moleskin, embrace digital. Experiences are incredible, but to really motivate your audience or your relationships in your network, they're much more powerfully received when they're on social media, when they're telling a story, and when they're genuine. And so as you saw in that video, this past November to April, I had the chance to direct Western Canada's largest marketing conference. And so with that, someone of my age, my caliber, my skill, shouldn't have been able to get any of the brands that were there. But with crafting an experience and sharing with them, hey, you know, we have a helicopter sponsor. We'd love to fly you from Vancouver to Whistler. Hey, you know, we have a speaker after party. We'd love if you could lead the dance party or do a wrap off. To show that we're more than just a conference, we're more than a data of 700 attendees, but we're actually an experience that wants to partner with your brand and bring you guys to life as well. And so with that, someone of my caliber was able to connect with these kind of brands up here on the screen, just in different capacities, not necessarily working with them, not necessarily with paid contracts, but just to have them partner and jump on board, whether that was send their CEO or their VP or their director of digital to say, we believe what you guys are doing, let's partner in this experience and empower other people that are coming to learn about the digital world. And so with that, I wanted to finish by saying everyone's craving an experiential connection. And if you're not, as a person or as a brand, providing one, just like those first slides, your audience will switch to a brand or a person that is. And now the big question that my company in Vancouver is working on is how does next generation technology intersect with traditional products and services? So I work for a private equity firm in Vancouver called the Skidmore Group with annual revenues just over 100 million. And the big project we're working on is creating an experience for custom kitchens. And it's not as dazzling as, say, a Tesla or a Starbucks, but that doesn't mean that a traditional experience, just like a custom kitchen, especially in Vancouver and Seattle's real estate market, doesn't need an experience just like those other bigger brands. And so what we're doing is we're thinking, what next app or social media will take a kitchen to a brand just like these on the screen. And in that same way, just that a kitchen or a telephone or a camera is going to start needing those digital experiences, us as people also have or will soon need to present our digital experience for our next job, for our next client, for our next partnership. And with that, I wanted to encourage you guys to start using tools like this, whether you already are or not, and especially to lean into LinkedIn. If you might not know, LinkedIn has an average user of a manager or director level on the platform. And so when you preach a message or you send a video or you ask a question, you're able to track the demographic, the purchasing power, the background of that potential candidate, unlike Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Not saying that those are exclusive, but if you're wanting to actually communicate with a brand that's going to acquire or work with you, LinkedIn, I would say, is now the new professional platform to move your idea to. So to finish things up, how can you now walk away and identify experiences of your own? I would encourage you to look at these 5 different points. And Natalie and Sam will speak to this further, but me being a student, I honestly don't have too much experience. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in any field at all, but what I know is that I'm curious and I love to go for ideas and I love to share my experiences, whether they're a failure or success. And I would encourage you guys, if you're an agency, if you're a brand, if you're a company, or just a normal person, to look at your values, your mission, your projects, the way you engage a community, and the way you reach out to then start crafting experiences of your own. Because I think ultimately experiences are what develop relationships, and relationships ultimately is what develops the future of your business. And so we can be thinking the best ideas and the best products, but if we're not giving the people on the other end or the people beside us in these chairs right now an experience, they're not going to remember us, they're not going to want to work with us, and there might not be much future potential at all. And so with that, the 3 keys to sum it up: tell a compelling story, be genuine, and embrace digital. Thanks for listening, and feel free to reach out. Any questions? Yeah, in the back, in the green.
Okay, so I have to ask this. Wasn't the guy freaked out?
Which one, Ryan or Chip?
Yeah, Ryan.
Ryan he's a growth hacker. So his first company was a paintball company and a pizza company, and he's someone that obviously in the media we see the ideas that work, but he's a big fan of let's try something, let's see if we can make it work, and if it does, let's move forward with it. And I think he was encouraged by the idea that it didn't work initially, and maybe I had the guts to make up a little gift and leave it at his door. And I asked myself that question too, and I asked him that when we had coffee afterwards, and he said, you know, I respected that, and in a noisy world like today, I think it's those kind of witty or funny, genuine experiences that kind of stick out, like, who is this guy? And so I kind of left it, and if it didn't work, he gets a free breakfast or, you know, some snacks for the road. And so I was like, let's see what happens. Yeah. Donovan?
I was going to ask the same thing. I was like, dude, that was kind of creepy, don't you think? And then,
Yeah.
It's very clever, though.
Yeah, and I think with that, like, it wasn't like I was busting into his room or doing anything, and I asked the hotel for permission. And so, again, I'm not going to say the brand name. Maybe it was his first week on the job. Yeah. So it's just the way things worked. But yeah. Any others? Yeah.
So I have a question. For CEOs, GMs, whatever they are, oftentimes they hire somebody to manage their account.
Mm.
Right? So those thumbs ups and thanks and generic answers that you see very frequently, they're not from them.
Mm-hmm.
How do you bypass them, or are you even aware of it?
Totally.
How do you bypass?
Completely aware, yeah. I think at CIMC we actually hosted some head content and PR firms that managed some of the CEOs and COOs that came. So I think the key is developing a strong relationship with both of them. And at the end of the day, when we look at values, if integrity and trust isn't something you're willing to build with all people and only some people, I think that's going to come back to bite you in the end. And so with that, it was getting on phone calls and making the receptionists making their day as well, because they go through so much, even if that's just mentioning thank you again and again for helping coordinate things or for being willing to chat over the phone. I think if you're not willing to treat them with respect, then you don't deserve the relationship of the person that they're working for.
Yeah, but if you're only strictly utilizing LinkedIn and you have no idea whether you're talking to a CEO or to a vendor who's monitoring your account,
Mm-hmm.
do you change your message based on that? Are you trying to create a message that
Yeah.
will work out to be faster?
So I know that their assistants are still, sometimes they will say in a message, I represent this person, I'd love to schedule a call, or, this guy or lady doesn't have time right now, but thanks for reaching out. I've definitely had that. And I should have mentioned with CIMC that was not I probably reached out to 100, 110 speakers, and my goal was to get 45, which we did have, but know that with these success metrics or these slides or whatever you see on the news and media, there's so much failure that happens behind the scenes. And so with that, there was tons of messages that people said, hey, this person doesn't want to come, or your conference isn't something that aligns with our brand. Thank you for reaching out. But it was the ones that I think did say yes. And so my answer in that could actually likely be biased to some extent for the ones that did say yes. But does that answer your question? Okay. Any others? Awesome. Okay.